What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And with the brand new ranked reset and the brand new episode, we have to talk about the best and worst characters in the entire game. So here is our new updated ranked tier list. But first, let me tell you about this insane tool, the Overwolf Valorant Tracker. This is an in-game Valorant tracker that is going to give you live performance updates while you're playing. You're going to be able to look at your player profile, find your best and worst maps so that you know exactly what you need to focus on, your own personal stats, your most played agent that you can use to gather important information about what you need to do and how you can improve from here. This is our most exciting sponsor yet because it goes hand in hand with our mission to help you improve, and this is perfect for those of you who want to climb. So go check it out right now in the download links below. Now, the last couple of tier lists have been based off of pro pick rate, but pro is filled with coordination and incredibly high level of individual skill, and ranked just doesn't always emulate. So for here, we're going to be doing a ranked tier list so you know exactly what characters to play and what characters are easiest to climb with. Starting off in the D tier, we have two characters in the D tier. We have Astra and we have Phoenix. Now, first off, let's talk about why Astra is really bad in ranked in general. And it typically comes down to Astra needing some amount of coordination. She is played really rarely, even with expert level of coordination in pro play, but in ranked, you will hardly be able to have multiple teammates that are capable of playing around your abilities. Now, you can still get value out of Astra as an individual, or if you're playing with a really good duo that coordinates with you, Astra can work, but in general, she's gonna be pretty difficult to climb with. So for these reasons, she's in the D tier. Now, Phoenix, on the other hand, while he's a character that has a kit that seems like he would be perfect for solo queuing, unfortunately, the power level of the character is severely behind many of the other duelists in the game. In fact, all of them. If they would just increase his power level of the kit he already has, he would actually be a really good ranked character at the very least. But in his current state, there are just way too many characters that you would rather play because they get so much inherent value, and you're just leaving that all on the table if you select Phoenix. Now, let's move on to the C tier, characters that can definitely carry on some maps and are role fillers, but not necessarily the hard carries that you need to get out of elo hell. First off, let's talk about Killjoy. Killjoy has maps that she's really great on, like Ascent, but overall, she's been eked out of the Sentinel role by specifically Chamber, and her ultimate is really easy to shut down more and more as players get better and better at lineups to do so. Many characters' abilities can deal with Killjoy. There are a lot of maps where she's not very great. And the fact that her utility turns off when you're even just a half sight over, that really prevents you from making a lot of lurk or aggressive plays. All in all, she can be good in some situations, but she's definitely not the ranked god that you want her to be. Brimstone is also in this category as a role filler and a really good smoker, specifically on Fracture, but Brimstone isn't going to be the hard carry that you need in each and every game. He has the capability to carry and make plays, but he's more of someone that brings more inherent value to a team rather than having the ability to make a lot of plays himself. This means that if you have a decent team, Brimstone can elevate that to be even better, but if you have an absolute terrible team and you have to put the whole game on your back, Brimstone is not going to be able to make the plays you need in order to climb. Last off, we got to talk about Cypher at the top of the C tier. He definitely has the capability to carry, but he severely lacks specifically on attack. While yes, you can lurk with Cypher, oftentimes your Chamber is going to want to be the lurker, and there are very few situations where I would rather have a Cypher on the team than a Chamber that can potentially pop off, and Chamber just brings so much impact that it's hard to justify Cypher, especially when one of Cypher's absolutely best map split has been removed from the map pool. Cypher, unfortunately, has been her, and he is definitely a character that probably needs a few quality of life buffs if we want to see him as that ranked menace that he was in the past. Next up, we got to talk about B tier. These are characters that can absolutely carry on certain maps or in the right hands. First off, we got to talk about Skye. Skye is just amazing, and she's actually almost A tier because of how great she is. She is only in the B tier because of her difficulty to master. She is one of the hardest characters to truly enable this initiator duelist hybrid style. You can pop flash on Skye, you can send fake flashes, gather information, you have an ultimate that can take site control. There's so much you can do with this character that I think she's incredibly flexible. That being said, I do think that a Skye is best enabled when you have a duo partner that is willing to coordinate and engage based on your utility. This is not always the case, and that's why she isn't the solo carry ranked god like some of the characters on this list, but in the right hands, she can definitely carry game after game. Next up, we have Neon, a absolutely crazy agent that can definitely carry game after game. If you can master the backward slide, the jumping side slides at 90-degree angles, and have all the movement down perfectly, you can get a lot of value on Neon, especially with weapons that other characters can't get the same amount of value on. Stingers, Judges, freaking Frenzies are god tier weapons in the hands of a Neon. Unfortunately, while I think that there are some situations where Neon is absolutely insane, it's going to depend a lot on the user themselves, and also her utility is a little underpowered in some regards. You can definitely get a lot of impact with it, but I think we would need a slight buff to Neon to put her aggressively above some of the other top duelists in the game right now. Next off, we got to talk about Omen. Omen is in the B tier for the exact reason why Brimstone is not in the B tier, and it's that Omen can make plays himself. He has the capability to set up flash teleport plays. He can teleport and set up these flanks with his ultimate. While not always the most consistent, he has things in his kit that allow him to play much more aggressive, and also he can actually lurk a lot easier than Brimstone can. There's a lot in Omen's kit that pushes him more towards a duelist controller hybrid rather than Brimstone being something like a controller sentinel hybrid. This is typically why you'll see a lot more Omens potentially top fragging in a game than a Brimstone, and if you are absolutely with players that are just not doing their job, they're really hard to carry, you're gonna want to be on Omen rather than Brimstone, especially on the vast majority of the maps that are in the pool right now. Next up, we gotta talk about Breach, a character that can really just dictate an entire game. You can shut down players over and over again. If you know how to properly stun and flash, you can clear an entire site for your team. On the maps that Breach is great in, Haven and Fracture, he is an absolute menace if you're good with him. That being said, he's not good on every single map, so it depends on the situation, what map you get. You should probably not play Breach on every map. And of course, just like with Skye, he's gonna be a little bit better if you have some sort of team coordination involved. So he's a much better duo queue character than he is a solo queue character. Last off in the B tier is Fade. Fade has all the potential to be one of the best characters in the game, but she's not quite there yet. Now, we are still seeing a lot of developments with Fade. As she's seeing play more and more in pro play, we can learn from that and adapt it to our play and further evolve Fade as a character. But as is right now, a lot of the entry-level strats with Fade are easier to counter than some of the advancedly developed strats of Sova. Now, I'm not saying Fade won't get there eventually. It's just right now, when you compare the two, Sova has had so much longer to develop a lot of these advanced techs that are harder to counter, and Fade just hasn't had that time yet. So she might get there, not quite there yet. That being said, there's still a lot to love about Fade. You can clear different angles on the map with just your dogs, just flat out, gather information or use that information as a form of pressure to engage. And then your ultimate is one of the best ultimates in the game, honestly. It's very, very powerful. Fade's a phenomenal character, and I do think that she is towards the top of the B tier. Next up, we gotta talk about A tier. These are the A tier ranked characters that can 100% just put a game on their back. They have all the tools to do so, and they're incredibly powerful. First off, we gotta talk about Sage. Sage is really, really great for a lot of reasons. Not only can you be aggressive when you need to, you have the ability to heal yourself, you have the ability to make these wall plays and these mind games wall plays where you can really mess with the enemy. You can play on top of your wall. Some of these will work typically once or twice, but if you know enough of them, they can get some value here or there, especially in ranked. But I think that the true shine to Sage is the fact that you can just res teammates who have one of the, if not the most powerful ult in the game that can completely turn games over and over again. And if you have the ability mechanically to clutch up on Sage, being able to out of nowhere, turn a 1v3, get a kill, res someone into a 2v2, that's just phenomenal. And this character is seeing substantial play in ranked. Of course, she's one of the most picked characters in the entire game, and she's very, very powerful with a high win rate, so I would definitely not overlook Sage. The next character that we gotta talk about is actually Yoru, and Yoru is one of the best ranked agents in the entire game in the right hands. There are so many players that are at the top just dominating ranked with Yoru, and the reason is he's a mind games character. You can get in the heads of the enemy, you have all the tools to engage and outplay just about anyone you come across. That being said, you need incredibly high levels of mechanical skill, and then you need to have the mind of Magnus Carlsen, just getting into the freaking heads of every single opponent you're up against and thinking many steps ahead. I think he actually has the potential to be one of, if not the best agents for climbing solo queue ranks out of anyone, but he's also one of the hardest to master in the game. And for those reasons, he's not going to be at the tippy top because it's not easy to climb by any means. But I do think that if you're willing to put in the time and effort and your goal is to climb in ranked, Yoru can just be that perfect character for you. Next up, we got to talk about KO, where KO is quickly just becoming one of the best agents in the game, ranked or pro play alike. KO's phenomenal. The ability to gather info, shut off abilities, and just use that ultimate to take site control by turning off utility, rushing points, shutting down ultimates like Jet, Neon, and Chamber, and just getting a crazy amount of value with the character. He's phenomenal. Not to mention his flashes, specifically his pop flashes, either going into a smoke or pop flashing around the corner, are the best flashes in the game. And it is not close. KO is freaking nasty, playing this initiator role that just gets a whole bunch of value, whether you're fragging or not, but then he has the capability to pop flash out of a smoke and just kill, spray control 2 or 3 people. KO is amazing. I've been playing him a lot myself, and I do think that he's one of the best ranked characters in the entire game. And yeah, definitely put KO in your back pocket. You won't regret mastering him. Next up, we got to talk about Viper. Viper is really, really great, and there's a big difference between a Viper that is just filling Viper because they, you know, you need a Viper, and that's one of the reasons why she's really high up on the ranked tier list, because there's a lot of maps that you just need a Viper on, so knowing how to play her, at least at a basic level, is going to get you percentage points there. But mastering Viper can let you carry, knowing how to play in and out of your Viper pit. When do you leave your Viper pit? What is the timing involved? Typically, it's when an enemy is forced to actually commit to tapping that spike, when they're forced to actually commit to going inside the Viper pit. There's a lot of situations where you can utilize the Viper pit, her utility, and time as your ally, trying to predict what an enemy will do based on the time that they have left and putting extra pressure with the ultimate goal of winning the round, not necessarily getting the kill. And Viper, of course, has all these lineups as well. And there's a pretty high skill ceiling with the character, and there's a certain instinct that you can get with Viper that just makes her an absolute menace in ranked. So for those reasons, I'm putting her in A tier. And now at the absolute top of A tier probably should be S, but there is a little bit too many agents in S, so we're putting at the top of A, and it's Jet. Now, Jet is really strong in the right hands, right? She has the knife capability where you can just pop off and get a whole bunch of kills with knives. She can op, she's not as good as Chamber is, but in certain situations, she can get value out of opping. She's great with eco weapons, and she could entry as well. Jet is just a phenomenal ranked character in the right hands. However, compared to how she used to be, there is going to be some value that you're missing out on. Now, sure, you do get a secondary dash if you prime, get 2 kills, and then you get another dash, right? Which is always nice. You could potentially get more value. But in general, there's going to be some situations where you would have clutched with old Jet, being able to get 1 kill, get another, dash away instantly, and then fight the other person or live to fight another day. These are things that you can no longer do on Jet, which was one of the ways in which you could like 1v4 potentially. And you could still do that to an extent, but Jet is definitely weakened in power level compared to how she used to be overall. She's still phenomenal. She's still great in the right hands, but I do think that there are 2 duelists that just beat her out for ranked play. So I'm putting her in A tier while these other 2 duelists are pushed up to S. Speaking of S tier, these are the agents that are God tier right now. These are the agents that you want to either know how to play or know how to play against. They're going to be in almost every single game you play, and they are amazing characters to learn how to play if you want to climb. First off, we got to talk about Raze. Raze is quickly becoming the go-to initiator. She can get information, she can take site control, and she has some amazing plays you could do, specifically in ranked, with rollouts, with lineups, And of course, with your ultimate that can just rack up the kills unless you're Sub-Rosa. I think that the only downside to Raze is one of her best maps right now is no longer in the competitive pool, aka Split, which is definitely sad for the character because Raze was completely dominant on that map. Still, Raze is a phenomenal pick and she's very powerful on many maps. The only maps that she has a few weaknesses on are really wide open maps like Breeze, for instance. It's hard to get value out of Raze on Breeze, but for the majority of maps, she is just an amazing pick, and in ranked, you can honestly run her anywhere. She is one of those X-Factor characters that many enemies are not going to be able to play around very easily. Next up in the S tier, we got to talk about Sova. Now I know Sova was S tier in the pro tier list, but guess what? He's S tier in the ranked tier list as well. He's freaking phenomenal. He's amazing. Between his Hunter's Fury that can just straight up get picks or allow you to play post plant, which can just win you a round outright. You have the ability to get kills with your Shock Dart, clear cubbies with your Shock Dart, gather information, not just once, but many times throughout the course of a round because it's on a cooldown, and you can clear sight with your drone. There's a lot that Sova can do. I mean, his abilities are immense, and the potential on this character is freaking to the moon. Sova is one of those characters that is good on nearly every map, and his map that you couldn't play him on, the one map that you couldn't play him on, Split, is not in the pool anymore. So all in all, Sova's amazing. He's phenomenal. I do think that he's one of the best characters for people to learn and grind, and that has been the case since the beginning of Valorant. Now, the next character that we got to talk about is Chamber. Chamber still towards the top of S tier, very powerful, capable of carrying game after game. You have these pro players that are just like going on freaking 10 win streak match MVPs on Chamber after they've learned the character. Chamber's crazy. He's really strong. I mean, having a character that has an op, has a gun that can one-tap headshot as part of the kit and a get out of jail free card in a teleport, you just combine those things together for ranked play. Obviously, this character is going to have the capability to carry. If you master this character, you can put entire games on your back. And the true draw to this character is that you can cut off entire parts of the map. You can take so much space. You could punish enemies for attacking you because not only do you get a kill without them having the ability to trade out with you. You get an advantage in the gunfight, and then you get to get out for free. Having high mechanical skill and understanding on Chamber means that you're going to just have like MVPs every single game and just carry game after game after game. Not to mention his op, which can win you so many rounds for free. This character's phenomenal. He's the best on eco rounds. He's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what more to say about Chamber. In his current state, he's one of the best agents in the game. And yeah, that's just the way it is. But the #1 ranked character in the entire game is REYNA. And I wanted to make this clear because before I had to separate REYNA for pro and ranked pick rate because she's really bad in pro play, but she's phenomenal in ranked. She's one of those characters that if you are the best player in the lobby, you can carry on REYNA. You could dominate on REYNA. But, and I want to say this very clearly, if you are not top fragging or at the very least like trailing behind the first place on your team, you are throwing on REYNA. REYNA is a character that is designed to get kills. She can't do anything if she doesn't get kills. And if you're not fragging out constantly, you would be bringing so much more intrinsic value to your team on any other character. But if you are fragging out, consistently getting picks, mechanically better than the enemy, and just destroying them, REYNA can build that momentum to not just allowing you to get 2 every round. You could kill the entire damn team. You win, you get that first kill on pistol round because you're better. You can get to 150 HP, and if you're better than the enemy, you're just gonna kill the entire enemy team. If you know, fight one person and win, but you get damaged, you get full healed, you get movement ability activated. I mean, there's just so much to REYNA that is like designed for you to clutch if you're better, but you have to be better first, right? And if you are playing REYNA and locking her in and going like 4 and 15, then you are doing yourself a disservice. You're not gonna climb, people are gonna be triggered at you. And I do think that it is important to check yourself and try to play in a way that brings a certain level of consistency. If you played really aggressive and it works, but then in the next game it doesn't, adopt your playstyle, change it. Don't be predictable and find ways to still get tons of frag value regardless of whether or not the enemy is playing around you or not. But this is the ranked tier list for the new episode. Definitely let me know if you agree or disagree with the list down below. And if there's any characters that you think are just completely busted in ranked play, I really want to hear about them down below. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you next time.